Hela, and welcome to Coffee with Avila. I just got confused about where I was looking, and I was trying to give eye contact to the shutter release button, so that's fun. Anyway, I'm Aviana Lemaire. This is my channel where we talk about neurodivergence, life, greater living, all this jazz. And I'm talking about the connection between things now because I see things that way. So I just want to take a moment to talk about being perceived as a neurodivergent individual. I have too many thoughts on this, and I would like to make much shorter videos than what I've been making. So I'm going to try to address kind of one subject, but with a neurodivergent brain that hits all sixes. But the concept of being perceived in general, how shall I put this? I have had the experience of people thinking stuff like this sounds a little bit out there. Oh, really? It's that hard to be perceived? It's just somebody looking at you. They're not even doing anything to you. They're not even touching you. So, from the, excuse me. You know what? Let me just get a sip. My throat's a little wonky. I've been talking, trying to do other videos. Being perceived is not about not being able to have someone affect you if they're not touching you. The spiritual perspective is we are spirit beings, and while we are inhabiting bodies, which are necessary currently in order to interface with a physical world, we are spirits. We have spiritual interactions, and looking at someone is a spiritual interaction. And this is recognized constantly in common media, in what do you call it, neurotypical society, regular conversation. It's referenced in different specific ways. So I'm gonna have a little bit of my coffee. I'm actually just realizing as I drink it, I might be just a little bit turned up and my energy might be just a little off the chain. I didn't really realize that until I had to take a breath for a second without instantly bringing it back in and out and in and out. Okay. Cool. So here's the thing. Spiritual connection. Part of what I was thinking about even in that moment, oh, my breath. Oh no. I've got a high energy level. A good amount of my life, part of my mask was masking just about all of my ADHD traits because they're not calm and they're not genteel and they're not ladylike, you know? I wasn't entirely discouraged from being energetic or imagining things, but it was very much, you know, society wants you to do that now, but not then. Society wants you to do it in this way, but not in that one. And in order to be polite, and in order to, especially in groups of people, act like everyone else and follow societal norms and rules, required rules, you kind of have to, I had to bring down the energy. I had to not drift off in thought, which is weird for me because my brain thinks, my brain engages. Trying not to think is one of the most stressful things one can do. And so hiding that was extremely difficult because people were staring at me and I was being perceived, right? Their spirits were trying, oops, I'm running into stuff. Don't have a lot of space right here in the moment in the area. I was trying not to be perceived on such a level that they could see that I was faking it. But I was trying to be properly perceived according to what I was told was proper. You need to be able to behave in a certain way. I was growing up, and at a certain point in my life, it was very Southern history, Southern values. I was brown. I was female. This was decades ago. So when I was little, I knew, okay, well, it was even worse decades ago. But for anyone who's possibly youngish now, I don't know what age. Let's say when I was thinking I was a teenager, oh gee, it would have been even worse about 4 decades ago. I was a teenager in that 2.5, 3 decades ago time frame, and I'm realizing that now it's been long enough that yeah, it probably was even worse then. I'm looking around, culture has changed. I was supposed to be the proper example of the well-behaved brown-skinned person. I was supposed to be the proper example of the well-behaved female. I was supposed to be a proper example for Christ because I was a Christian. There's a lot of stuff I had to get right in every single moment. And it was all an issue of being stressed out because while this was happening, people were looking at me and people were watching me. And a lot of my trying out how to make my mask and how to fake myself was in the midst of everybody staring. It was a public gathering. It was a birthday party. It was my birthday party. It was a holiday event. It was, on very rare occasion, it would be something like a family reunion. Some of us have got families that reach far and wide. They go everywhere. There are lots of people in them. And even if we feel like we know everybody in a certain area, you haven't seen what it's like at a family reunion where theoretically you're related to everybody and they should all know you, right? Like, we're related, it's fine, we know each other. I did not know them. So I was like, okay, I'm completely out of my element. And at certain moments, especially when you're new, you're young, everyone hasn't met, not everyone has met you yet, they're all staring, and they'll come up in groups, and someone will be like, you know, the conversation they're having is something like, oh, that's their child. Oh, we haven't seen their child yet. We heard they had a child, but we hadn't met them. And you would see the whisper chorus go, and faces would turn around, and people would look at you. I didn't have my mask up. I was trying to build my mask. I didn't even know that's what I was doing. And suddenly everybody was looking at me. I was being perceived. I would want to hide. I would want to go away. I didn't really want to go into a hole because in my mind, if I dug a hole right here, that means everyone can find me. They just saw me standing here. I want to teleport to someone else's hole, 15 neighborhoods away, where they can't figure out where I was, where I've been, where I'm going, whatever it is, they don't know my location. I wanted to pull into my turtle shell, but I knew they'd see that too. There's a turtle in that there shell. Let's go talk to her. I hated being perceived sometimes. And what I would come to learn, I went through a lot of intensive spiritual training throughout my life. And what I would come to learn is that there's a lot of spiritual intercourse going on when someone is looking at you. And man, I want to give some commonplace examples. Like, you might watch a movie, because I think, you know, it's easy to think, oh, that sounds over the top. It's like spiritual interaction. Come on. Sometimes when somebody is in love, you might hear them talking about how, oh, they just get these butterflies. Like, I really like this. I might be saying, so let's pretend I'm somebody and I'm not me. I don't have my spiritual viewpoint. I don't believe in any of it. But I met somebody, I'm in love, I'm excited, and I'm just talking, oh my gosh, I love him. And he looked at me the other day, and we couldn't really be at the same place because, you know, it was a party, we had to mingle, but he kept looking at me, and every time he looked at me, I felt like, oh my gosh, my heart went pitter-patter. I got all these butterflies. It just felt this wave of energy. The spiritual perspective of that is you just had a spiritual interaction. You looked, you perceived each other. It was, oh, I'm blocking, there's a shadow. I'll see if I can work on that. You looked at each other. You perceived each other. You're in love with this person. Let's hope in this story this person is in love with you. It's all canoodly. You're having fun. You're both getting kind of charged up. There's an energy exchange. You're sending feelings and sensations. You're like, that's right, you're looking at me. And he's like, that's right, I'm looking at you. Right? Your mood changes. Your energy shifts. You might have been like, I'm just standing here. I'm passive. And then you look over and you see the love of your life staring at you, and you're like, oh my gosh, suddenly I feel warm. My body temperature is changing. I'm thinking all these different thoughts. Energy exchange. You shift it from one frequency to the next. In some cases, you might have been shifting from the frequency of sheer annoyance, total boredom, disinterest, or just being polite. You might have even been shifting from just enjoying yourself, but not like you are when your love is looking at you, into all of a sudden hardcore, hot and heavy, high level romance, lub dub, your heart is pounding energy. You're in the frequency of love. That's a whole different frequency. That's an energy exchange. Sometimes you hear the exact opposite of that, which I will try to describe quicker. Sometimes you're in a situation where, let's say there's someone in the room and you don't like this person. They know you don't like them. Maybe they don't like you. You're just trying to ignore each other. You were having a conversation and then they walked in and you're like, oh great, it's them. You just had an energy exchange. You perceived them and your spirit picked up on their spiritual presence, like their spiritual pregnance. I guess that means their presence is pregnant with ugh, and you want none of that. You want them to walk back out and take the ugh that they brought with them when they go. You now have shifted from, oh, I'm having a conversation in this place that's kind of got nice ambiance, and you look over, you've gone from yeah to like, oh no. You've shifted into the frequency of, let's negate this situation. I want to kick you out of this place. I need to get out of this place. Have I finished my food? Can I get the check? You've changed. It's an energy shift. When someone perceives you, here's the thing that I think nobody wants to talk about. Autists are very sensitive. It's quite clear. We're very sensitive to energy. We perceive energy in very different ways. Okay? This is what a lot of people referred to as sensory sensitivities. They will call it sensory processing disorder because they expect you to react to something in a certain fashion. And when you react in any other fashion, they're like, well, that's weird, that's different. That's because you are picking up on the energy of that thing differently. Like someone might hear a song that they find to be really nice, okay? This is not even a neurodivergent versus neurotypical thing. It could just be any two people in the world of any neurotype, and one song is playing. There are two people reacting to it, and one person is like, oh yeah, I like this. They're in a bouncy, fun, dancing energy. They're getting into it. They like it. That's great. They're perceiving it in a particular fashion. The other person is perceiving it very differently. That song is playing and they're like, I don't like this sound. No, I need to get out of here. No, my headphones, they are not thick enough for this. I don't have any earplugs. I don't want to go. The other person's like, no, come on, it's just, this is my song. Come dance with me. You're like, I don't want to dance with you. I want to go to the bathroom. I suddenly have need to go see what color the grass is on the outside of the house. The grass outside of the house must be greener than the horrible grass I'm hearing pumping through these speakers right now. You might be having vastly different reactions, even if you have the same neurotype. It is because you are perceiving that energy in a very different way. What is wonderful and relaxing and enlivening for one person is upsetting and distressing and draining for another. That's basically what we are experiencing very often as autistic individuals. When someone is looking at us, it's kind of the same as having that music come at us. The music is clearly feeding you energy, frequency coming out of the speakers, sound waves traveling through the room. Sometimes that happens when someone's in the room and you hear their voice. Could be one person, same voice. Two people of any neurotype are in the room experiencing it very differently. One person is like, oh my gosh, that's my cousin. I adore her. Let's go talk. They're into it. The other person is like, silently in your head, hopefully you can be like, oh no, it's your cousin. I can't stand her. I gotta go. Where's the nearest exit? I don't want to walk past her to that exit. There's gotta be an exit behind me, right? Completely different experience because you're picking up on the energy differently, because that person's voice is sending that frequency and you're just built to pick it up differently. It's basic physics. Different kinds of microphones sometimes will be used for picking up sound. For instance, if someone is voicing over a movie, they will have a particular kind of microphone that picks up certain tones in their voice. And sometimes a person will choose their microphone based on the kind of voice they have. If they have a higher pitched voice, they might choose a different microphone that's good at balancing that. Then someone who's got a very low voice, they would pick a different microphone because that mic is good at balancing that. Frequency, pickup, response. These are very basic physics level things. People know about it. At this point, I think it's even gotten to the point where it's not even about the spiritual community just living this way. There are different places in science where people are literally understanding that frequency has an effect on you. It's been happening for a long time. There's been a long time, I think especially cat lovers might know this. For a long time, there's been a practice in some places where, hopefully, if it's done safely, cats will be brought in because they're good therapy in multiple ways for people who have different physical ailments or have different pain-oriented conditions. And there is something known about the purr of a cat. A cat's purr vibrates at a frequency that seems to be alleviating for pain. A cat purr can help relieve pain because of the frequency of it. People know about this stuff. What's happening as autists when we are disliking being perceived is that we are picking up on the frequency of the energy somebody is sending in a very different way. Sometimes we don't want any of that energy, whether it's good or bad. Maybe we are aware that our own energy just needs to be left alone to heal. Sometimes it's someone who's stressful for us. We don't want to deal with that at all. Maybe we just don't want to feel stressed out. We want to feel peaceful. Maybe, because this is also a thing, you might be an autist who knows that your temper has got a bit of a hold of you. And if you're around this person, you're apt to say and do things you don't really want to say and do because they're going to trigger you. Have you ever heard anybody use the term, "Oh my gosh, if they even look at me, I'm going to lose it"? That is a very quiet, low-level recognition of the fact that looking at someone, the act of perceiving them, has an effect on them. And that's just that comments coming from the person who is being perceived and doesn't want that experience. I feel like I'm having this sensation that I've explained it 50,000 times, and I have a bit of a habit of doing that in life because I kind of grew up in this world where I would say something and nobody would get what I was talking about, and then I went through all this difficulty trying to explain, no, what I'm saying exists. It's just an issue of whether you're willing to admit that, agree with it or not, disagree with it. You can just admit that this is a theory that exists. I'm not the only one with it a good amount of the time. I had a lot of my own theories, but I hope I haven't just explained that 50,000 ways in the most ridiculous of fashions. But what's going on, I want to explain it, and I want it to use regular experiences, like somebody being like, "Oh yeah, he's looking at me, I like it," or someone being like, "Ooh, if she looks at me, I'm going to lose it," because these are well known in every society. I've never heard anyone designate any of those experiences as being unique to the autistic brain or the ADHD brain. So I think it's something where, especially if you've been in groups of people, if you've had families or friends, if you've witnessed people from afar, if you've seen television, media, movies, if you've listened to stuff like that in music, this stuff is referenced all of the time. It's normal by the traditional definition of people being like, if a neurotypical can experience it this way, then that must mean it's normal. But we are very much often having a completely different reaction to it when we are autistic and or ADHD, because we process that energy very differently. I do not see any one concurrent line of processing that goes from one person to the next. There are some people I know who are, I'm a person who's highly sensitive to these things. I very dearly, closely know some people who are the exact opposite. And it's just the same as having somebody who's like, "Oh, I love it when it's hot. I'm so comfortable when it's hot. The heat is beautiful. It feeds me." I, in that situation, would be like, "Oh my God, it's so hot. I can't cool down. Where's my fan? No, it's too hot. I need to get out of here. Where is the refrigerator? I need to eat ice. I must have ice water." Two completely different experiences. And the experiences I'm talking about now are both from autistic individuals, where it's me and someone else I know who's autistic. So I don't see us all having any, just to be clear for anyone who doesn't know or isn't aware, we all have different personalities, we all have different ways of picking up on things. It's just that we tend to have more in common amongst us as the neurodivergent group in the way that we pick up on it than we might have in common with the neurotypicals, who seem to believe that their experience is the basis for normality. And so this is why it seems like it's a big deal. You don't see shorts. I haven't seen any shorts on YouTube talking about how weird it is to be an NT and be perceived and have an experience that's really different from what it is to be an ND and be perceived. I haven't seen those videos. But I've seen a whole lot of them talking about that from the neurodivergent perspective. And it's like, oh yeah, this is one of the weirdest things about being autistic or ADHD. And when I see it, it's just the most normal thing to me. Because normal is like, that's a weird term, but there's generally something that's more regular, something that is more irregular, something that's stranger. And with us, in my experience and my firsthand experience, and I can't think of any stories now, I think I just ran out of steam. I've got a whole life of being perceived in every conceivable situation, whether I like it or not. A huge amount of experiences. The only thing I can think of right now is the situation where, as a child, I lived in a place where, long story short, there were constantly people. I didn't necessarily know them. They weren't always, sometimes they were friends of the family, family members. Sometimes it would be utility workers, someone who's a complete stranger. And so on paper, I'm being protected from everybody. But I had a situation where I would just try to go off and go. The only place where I could go was to my bedroom. But because of the way that the place was set up, what ended up happening was people would have visitors for way too long. So if I went into the bedroom and I tried to just stay out of it and not be perceived and not get involved, and you know how a lot of people like to kind of, as adults, they like to play with you as a child like you're a toy and ask ridiculous questions and, you know, small talk about everything cliche in school. And when I was 3 years old, somebody asked me, do you have, okay, I know a lot of people won't relate and won't believe this, but I also know there are people, and now I know there are people out there who will relate and believe it. I was about 3 years old, and an adult bent over, and they're doing that thing where they're looking at everyone else in the room like, look at me, I'm having a fun conversation with the cute baby, right? And they bend over and ask me like some kind of compliment about how I looked, and then it's, do you have a boyfriend? And I just remember, inside of my mind, I did not say this to them, but I just was like, I knew human culture and local culture where I was growing up in the States at that time. No one at 3 years old was in a loving, committed relationship with a significant other. Asking me that question felt ridiculous. And so when they asked me, do you have a boyfriend? My mind said, because I have a sarcastic streak, my thought was, yeah, I do have a boyfriend, but my husband's not happy with it. And I just wanted to always avoid being the butt of the joke where I'm the child and someone's poking and prodding with cute questions and they want to see me say something cute and it's so adorable and I'm not really a part of the conversation, but they are. They just want to say something that makes me say something funny so everyone can laugh. You know, that experience. Some of us know and remember that experience. And I can't be the only one who just hated it. But I would be in a situation where I wanted to avoid that kind of thing. And there would be visitors for many, many hours. And then I'd be stuck in this bedroom trying not to be perceived. And then I would end up between a rock and a hard place because eventually, inevitably, I would have to go to the restroom. And it had been so many hours that no matter how I had chosen not to hydrate in order to prevent it, it always would end up happening. And I did not want to go because the setup of that place was such that if I was in my bedroom with the door closed, no one could see me. But people could hear me if I was reasonably loud to any normal level. So I'd be very quiet because I didn't want to be perceived. And if I left the room because of the setup, everyone in the whole area could see in my room. They could see me, they could see what I was wearing, so that even then I was like, oh no, I've got to change clothes and I've got to wear this and I've got to look nice and my hair has to be done and all this stuff. I couldn't just go to the bathroom. It had to become a show. I'm now going to walk across there, they're going to see me, everyone's going to be looking, and they're all going to look at me because suddenly a door that was closed and silent the whole time has opened, and now the cute child who's supposed to be the fun show is going to make an appearance. I hated that. And what I hated more after I went into the restroom was knowing I've got to come back out, because now they've had 5 or 10 minutes, whatever, they've had a few minutes to process the fact that you're there, to chat about you. Sometimes I'd hear them talking, which was also exhausting. They're having a whole conversation, and I knew if I managed to get to the bathroom without them saying anything to me, there's no way I'm going to get from the bathroom back to my room without them saying stuff. And that's usually the case. Then I'm being perceived. They're looking in groups. They're talking to me. Come on over here, we want to talk to you. I had to stand there. People would touch. And it was weird. Sometimes it was family, sometimes it wasn't. In all honesty, sometimes it was people who just weren't safe, and I didn't want to be perceived for a variety of reasons. But no matter what the reason was, I just wanted my privacy, because I have always been sensitive to spiritual interactions, and I knew that's what it was. And I can't remember if I said this or not, but I had a certain kind of life, and I went through a lot of spiritual training so that I would understand these things, and it's been of tradition. I was exposed to this stuff so that I could process it for myself and figure out if I even believed in it. And boy, do I believe in it. Because there is nothing like even just being looked at by somebody when you are really hoping that they're not going to then speak. Get up, walk over, turn it into a show, start asking questions, you end up in a conversation. Even the looking would be stressful enough. But when I knew that the look was probably a precursor to a bunch of other stuff I didn't want, it was just over. That's the only example I could think of. And I didn't really want to go there, but I just went. Guess it didn't sound that intense. It's from a time frame in my life that I don't like remembering. But I think I just managed to address it in a way that doesn't violate, I'm not violating myself. I didn't bring anything horrendous out. So yeah, it's just a summate. Makes all the sense in the world. Anyone, ND, NT, whatever you got. If you don't want to be perceived, I can guarantee you, if you're open to this as a concept, right? That's your spirit reacting to something that it is sensing, it's aware of, it is gaining, or something that's being drawn from it. Because when you're being perceived, sometimes you're also perceiving that person. In order to have a feeling, an opinion, a concern about someone perceiving you, you first have to perceive that that person is there, that they might be there. You're thinking about them. It's energy waves. It's the frequency thing. It's an interaction. And when energy interacts, something is always taking place. If you're just one candle sitting over here and another candle is sitting over there, it's one thing. If you've got a partition between you, it's one thing. But if you move the partition, the light starts to filter together, right? Both, particles and waves. The closer you put the candles to each other, the more the energy, the more the photons interact. The light, now it's not like you've got two tiny lights from two candles. It gets to the point where, because they're so close together, proximity changes it. The closer they get to each other, the more that light begins to seem like it's just one big light. You've got more light, you've got more energy. The more candles, or in this, like as a metaphor for how many people are interacting, the more candles you add, the bigger the light gets. And sometimes when it's even just candles, you look at it at a certain point and you think, well, dang, this is just too much light. This is way too much energy for the space. It's getting too hot. It's getting too bright. I got to do something about this. We got to get rid of some of these candles. That's basically a good metaphor for what's going on as a neurodivergent person when you are differently sensitive to energy than other people are. You're reacting to that light differently than other people might be. Like, it's hitting you harder. For a lot of us, and my experience as being the sensory sensitive, spiritually aware autist, so it's like I'm closer to it. The light from those flames, the energy from those people, their looks, their conversation, it's taking a bigger toll on me than it has been taking on other people in my life. So it's kind of like, because I'm more sensitive to it, it's kind of like the candles are closer to me. Like when life was set up, the game of life was set up, they are the piece that got set further back from all of the stimuli. So, you know, the neurotypicals and people who didn't get what I was going through got sat further back. So they can see that the light is there, but they're not processing how different it is to be sitting very close to the flame. But whoever set the game of life up, after they sat them back at a safe distance, they sat me really close to the flame. So I can see the light with my eyes closed because it's coming through my eyelids. It's not blacking it out because they're too close. I can see the light, and no matter how many candles you add, and it's brighter to that person who's sitting back further, imagine how bright it is to me or the rest of us as sensory sensitive, spiritually sensitive, autistic individuals. And again, autism is just a term that people made up, right? People are like born autistic, and while I mean it's not like it's a belief that we're born autistic. There are studies about this. The autistic brain forms differently in the womb. Subplate neurons out. It's a completely different situation, and they remain different, apparently, based on the going science. The last time I looked it up, I made a video about this during a marathon, and that marathon is on this channel inside of a video that's about half an hour long, and it says something like everything you need to know about autism. It was a bunch of shorts, but on an older on an older channel. So I brought those over and edited them into one video. So it's here, and I just did a bunch of subject matter. One short every day, so it's about 30, 31, I can't remember, it was Autism Awareness Month. However many days, 30 plus subjects. And one of them is talking about just a light synopsis of how our brains form differently. So we are different from the womb out. Our bodies, our interfaces with this planet are forming in this way. I believe it forms differently because the plan was to have us have a different experience and have different strengths and have different capabilities, and so we needed a different way in which to interface, and boy did it work. But whether you're going to call it autistic or whether we're in a parallel reality where people just call us the normal ones, we're closer to the candles, and the energy from the flame is just going to affect us in a different way. So, man, I hope that didn't sound ridiculously kiddish. I'm very accustomed to trying to break things down in a clear way so absolutely everyone could get the concept. I don't know. I'll be watching it. I'm already mentally editing this. I wanted to do it quickly, and I've just seen that I've hit 33 minutes. So much for that. This is how I end up with half-hour videos all the time. It's sometimes how I end up with two-part videos that are 15 minutes long a piece or 20. But I'll try to wrap this up. So, long story short, I'm embracing the fact that I'm a Christian mystic, and I am an autist who actually excels at what they call EQ, figuring people out. I get what's going on. I'm not confused by the NT interactions and stuff and why stuff happens and all that stuff. If you want that perspective, a spiritual perspective, a mystic perspective, or a Christian perspective, or just like that, I mean, this is one of my tip-top interests. They call it a special interest in life, the human experience, psychology. I get this stuff. If you want that perspective on things, I need ideas for things to talk about that no one, I talk about stuff where I'm not seeing it out there. If you're seeing stuff, if there's stuff you're seeing and you just want a different perspective, the mystic perspective, a differently aware perspective, drop the idea in the comment section. I'm looking for more ideas. Life has been making me think about why I'm doing this channel, and if I'm gonna keep doing this channel, I need to feel like I'm doing it for something. So I'm going to be dropping some of that mask that pretends like I don't get the spiritual perspective, and I'm going to just be going into it Because quite frankly, when it comes down to it, for me, this is not going over the top and talking about the spiritual side. This just is the basis for everything. It's the foundation. So trying to talk about it, a subject, something that's built on top of what is for me, clearly the foundation to all things in this realm, is really insane. Can't do it like that anymore. And it's been pointed out to me that I'm unique, so I'm going to embrace that and put it out there. If you want that viewpoint, if you want that, if you've got an idea for something people aren't talking about, leave me a suggestion. That's just a standing thing, unless I one day state otherwise. Like, I'm overwhelmed. My station is so successful and I'm so overwhelmed. I can't take any more suggestions. And please do all the things if you so feel led and you would really like to. Liking, commenting, sharing the video, especially if you think someone will get use out of it. Subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when I upload, because you know what? I don't know when I can upload. All I can do is do what I can do when I'm well enough to do anything at all for over a half an hour without even trying. I think that's it. That's about it. Bye now.